Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. It's been a while, but it's time for a match reaction because Liverpool versus Arsenal is a huge game, an interesting game, and one which, the question I always want to ask you, questions right from the off. If you look at this and you're watching this with harsh eyes on Arsenal, I wonder if you're looking at this very differently. But Arsenal fans, talk to me right now. Let me know in the comments down below and in the chat. Do you look at this performance from Arsenal with kinder eyes than you would have with a team that hasn't won the games that it's won this season, a team that hasn't had, an upturn, and a team that isn't as sort of young and as green as it has been in previous times? Because I find myself kind of excusing a lot of stuff that went on today. And I'm okay with it, personally. And I'm going to show you why I'm okay with it. Because I think sometimes we can believe that a team is a bigger deal than it is. And at this moment in time, this Arsenal side is not what it wants to be. But the important question, really, for me is that, does this team and the personnel here, do they have a high ceiling? I think it does. I think there is a high ceiling. I think we certainly don't know where it can go, and I think there's a belief there that, or a hope at least, that it could go somewhere. In the game itself, there were a few changes. I'm going to show some of these bits from the game here. Thiago, I absolutely loved watching him. I haven't seen him play for a while. The setup I've got here is kind of based around the average positions here, because I thought Thiago played a key role in this game, as did Fabinho. In the first half, Arsenal contained Liverpool quite well. The reason I have put Arteta has regrets at the end of this is because after about 30 minutes, it was all pretty quiet. Now, the problem Arteta has at this moment in time is that there isn't a plan B. And at the moment, certainly against a good side like Liverpool, it's about containment, really, rather than anything else. I think he made some mistakes, and I'll dive into that in a second. But when the aim of the team is to sort of sit back, low block, then you're going to invite pressure, which is fine, and you've got to have a few scary and hairy moments there, and you've got to deal with it. But I think as soon as it goes to 1-0, this is the problem that Arteta has at this moment in time. I think we can see what he's trying to do with this side, but at this moment in time, he doesn't have a plan B yet. By the end of this season, he has to have a plan B. The other thing I think that's really important to say is that this Liverpool side is something special. This Liverpool side does not bend. They're top of the table when it comes to injuries at the moment. And with the amount of players that they've got missing, for them to put forward this kind of performance, especially in the second half, Arsenal were flailing all over the place, which again I put down to an element of immaturity amongst this side and some of the young players. There's some people in the chat talking about people like Tavares, for example. Again, maybe I'm being kind here, but I actually think this is a player who's going to learn from this experience. Yes, he was poor, but there was also a lot of positivity from him at times. Even actually the goal that is given away by him, which killed the game, didn't it? That comes from him doing a nice bit of defending and then trying to be positive and then kind of losing that positivity, or maybe, an element of it being a great press from Liverpool and an element of it being Arsenal players not being there and available to him. And then he goes and plays a ball backwards and then he gets himself in trouble. But for Liverpool, with the players that they've got missing at the moment, for them to play as well as they did, in the first half, I thought it was a little bit awkward. I thought the midfield three, I was looking at that midfield three and I was thinking, is this really going to work? But coming back to Thiago, I thought if we should have a look at the average positions now, I thought the role of Thiago in this game was really interesting because it led to a change in the role of Sadio Mane as well. Because Thiago often sort of dropped back. Let me just show you his heat map from the game. He's often dropping back and getting on the ball. And because he was doing that on this left-hand side, what it means is often you're sort of a pivot for the other players in the team. Let me show you. So if Thiago picks up the ball here, then that means Tsimikas can be higher up, right? And Mane can play on Tomiyasu or here and make those diagonal runs that he normally does and make that run that he did actually make right at the end of the game. But because Thiago drops that little bit deeper in this game, because he's someone who wants to get on the ball, that meant that Mane was doing a similar thing, Tsimikas was doing a similar thing. Now, this isn't a problem, but Mane, who people will give him huge plaudits for the game, in the first half, he gave the ball away 10 times, more than any other player. And I thought he was sort of struggling with getting the ball here. But what I think was a mistake Arteta's part was how they set up defensively. Now, you know Salah's going to be in his usual position. Jota's going to be up here. Mane, you know, is going to work in these different areas. What they didn't accommodate for was the quality of Thiago. Because Fabinho at times almost sort of stayed out the way of Thiago's space. Oxlade-Chamberlain worked a lot higher up the pitch. Fabinho generally stayed on this right-hand side. Salah further up. Trent doing what he does best. And then, of course, you've got your two centre-backs. It's the other way around, isn't it? What I noticed, and I think this is something that you should always look out for, is who do your best players give the ball? Who do your best players give the ball? And Van Dijk gave the ball to Thiago quickly. And I think that's the thing. When you've got someone like Thiago, use him and use his strengths. His strengths are the fact that he is so wonderful when it comes to getting on the ball. And I'll be honest, I haven't even looked at this, but I bet I can find it pretty quickly. When it comes to his passing, certainly in the first half, he was looking pretty beautiful. 75 of the 79 passes he played in this game were accurate. 2 key passes as well in this game. I think in the first half, it was at 98%. Just amazing at getting on the ball. The reason why that's important is because what it meant was, and this is where I think Arteta should have seen a trick and maybe looked to stop it, was the way that they set up. Now, you would think normally that, yes, it was more like this, a 4-4-2, where you have your... And often that has been the case when it comes to Arsenal. They like to have pairs all over the pitch, right? These guys. But again, they're not a team that's pressing at the moment. They're a team that contains the opposition, right? But what I think they did wrong here, and something that Arteta should have spotted a bit sooner, was the fact that Thiago Silva's dropping the ball here. How they actually played in this game is they put Saka a little bit further up to try and stop the passing lanes somewhat. But what that means is when you've got someone like Thiago and he's as good as he is, he has the ability to cut through 1, 2, 3 players with one pass. And unless Lacazette is superb, you're gonna just get bypassed. And that's what happened a lot of the time. Thiago was able to get the ball to Mane. And what that then means is from that point, you then start to dominate the game and then utilise this right-hand side, which is where they want to get the ball at the end of it all. And I thought they did that brilliantly. But Mane struggled in that first half to get on the ball because partly down to Ben White being really positive in how he played defensively. And it was all working quite well. The problem was 2 things. Arteta, when you're trying to keep Anfield quiet, don't have a touchline spat with Jurgen Klopp over nothing. Because what he did there was he got the crowd going. When you get the crowd going, you get the players going. And it's not a coincidence. It is not the coincidence that happened a few minutes later. They get themselves a goal. What is also not a coincidence is the fact that they conceded from a set piece. I so nearly put a bet on this, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't. These are the stats in terms of expected goals. Let me just make it a bit easier for you guys to see it. And I knew this was going to happen, and I should have put a bet on it, and I didn't. And for 2 reasons. This one, Trent, because he's unbelievable. But in terms of expected goals against, from set plays, Arsenal had so far, this is before the game, their XG was 4.9 and they'd only conceded 2 goals. So a goal from a set piece was coming. And on the other side of it, in terms of running hot at the moment when it comes to set pieces, Liverpool currently have scored 6 goals and now 7 goals from a very, very high XG. So they're running hot. They're great when it comes to set pieces. Arsenal had been a little bit lucky when it came to set pieces, and that came to be quite a key factor in this game as well. Overall, I think the plaudits need to go to Liverpool in this one. Obviously, they've won the game 4-0. But for them to sort of deal with this change in personnel for what looked a little bit awkward, I thought was really, really impressive. And ultimately, Arsenal didn't lay a glove on them. The biggest question of all is the fact that where do you see Arsenal within this? Is this one where, well, come on, we've seen some improvements and these are young players who are going to get better? Or are there alarm bells here? I think it's halfway between the two. I think, if you look at the stats at the end of the game, it's disappointing. It is disappointing in terms of them offering up something in terms of a plan B, an ability to go through the lines and get the ball up to Lokonga, who they did often, but ultimately they didn't really utilise him that well. 19 shots to 5, 37% possession is not great. No big chances at all. Weren't able to get Aubameyang into the game apart from one good pass. But I don't know. the thing for me is I look at a lot of these players and I thought Ben White, I thought at times wanted to be positive, was trying to be positive for the team. Tomiyasu, I think you know what you're going to get with him. I think it's interesting. I was chatting to someone on WhatsApp. If he was Wan-Bissaka, if he was playing for Man United, I think people would go after him a little bit. But because his role is quite simple, they love him. And that's okay right now. And I'm sure he can develop as well. Saka, I thought, was disappointing, and I don't think he was utilised the right way. I think they should have got the ball to him deeper and given him an opportunity to try and run at them. But credit due to Liverpool again. Their press was absolutely superb throughout the game. But there are positives there. You know, Emile Smith-Rowe, he doesn't have that many touches in games. That's not a concern because I think he's looking to have the right touches. But the bigger concern is if you get the ball to this guy, he can do stuff for you. And that's where Arsenal are struggling at this moment in time. Is that I thought Thomas Partey was really poor, struggled to get on the ball. And I think we'll see from his stats here as well. 1 tackle in the game, not a single interception in the game. And that's, you know, when you're playing a low block, there should be a few more interceptions there, really. You'd hope that he would offer something, especially when we're looking at it the way that we have and seeing what's happened with Thiago getting on the ball and playing those passes. Really, there was an opportunity there for Partey to do it, but Thiago is just far too smart for him, really. Just far too smart for him. Overall, I think, and that's the final person I wanted to talk about was Tavares. Now, Tavares, he's had a stinker. I get it. But what I think is really important for Arsenal fans, and I bet you'll hear it in other places, is people will go after Tavares. I think there's still some real positivity from him that you can find. You can see it in him, in what he wanted to do in this game. He came up against a fantastic team that has been around for years now, with a great press, a great manager. And that's the final thing I wanted to show you. It's like there are levels here. There are huge levels to Arsenal and Liverpool right now. And I think that needs to be remembered when I think all over YouTube you're going to have people going mad at Arsenal right now. And I think it's the wrong thing. Yes, Arteta should have some regrets in terms of the role of Saka in this game. I would have done it differently. I would have gone like this, and I would have let him stay back, and then you break and look to get him the ball a little bit more. Maybe even look to get Smith-Rowe in a narrow position, play Aubameyang there. I would have gone that way around it. But again, he was trying to sort of deal with these two, which I know is a difficult task, and it is a difficult task. But there is a level to this. There really is. And let me show you that. Because, again, you know, some people like XG, some people don't. But I think the important thing to say is, especially when it comes to open play XG, what it shows is teams that dominate games. And Liverpool, 21 goals in terms of XG. Man City, 17. Chelsea, 15. And then there's a huge gap to the rest. Arsenal currently, when it comes to open play, 8.4. And I think when the game is played in open play, right? So Arsenal are miles off. But is there room for them to grow as a squad and as individual players? Yes, in my opinion. And I think you've seen that over the last few weeks. So one of those to sort of keep calm and carry on with. Just to finish on Liverpool, actually, because I think there's some really good elements of for them as well in terms of certain players. And let me know your man of the match. I'm going to go to the chat in just a second. If you're still watching, by the way, if you could do me a favour and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'm going to look to do more of these reactions, but also hit the like button as well. That would be great. I thought Jota, incredible finish from him. He's in my fantasy team, so I was delighted with that. Salah does what Salah does, which is great. Trent looks absolutely outrageous at the moment. And I think Tsimikas as well. I'd like to give him a shout out because on that left-hand side, look, you know what he's going to do there. Robertson would be higher up the pitch, but I also think that's down to the sort of pivot, if you think of it laterally, from Thiago and moving up the pitch, and Mane's positioning as well, which I can probably show you there. You can see it right there. Those moments where he was dropping deep and getting on the ball. Very different to when Firmino plays. Jota would play in that role normally, but not today. Jota a lot further up the pitch and getting himself in the penalty box as much as possible. Which is interesting. Man of the match. Let's have a look, see what you've done. Ashley Young, the Ashley Young of Aston Villa says, Jim, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you too, my friend. Okay. Hit the like button then. Fabinho, man of the match. He's always very tidy. He's absolutely fantastic. Thiago, man of the match for me. I just love watching him so much. Ox, yeah. I think for Chamberlain, I think that's worth mentioning as well. I thought he offered a lot. Is he your best option there? Maybe not. But what I would say when you want to win a title is that you need to be utilising this entire squad, and he needs to become a figure that you can use a lot more than you have done in the last couple of years. So it's great to see him get through a game. Ramsdale, man of the match. Can I just say one thing about Ramsdale? Carragher, take a breath, son. Everyone's like, oh my God, he's touched the ball with his hands. I really like Ramsdale. I love his personality. I like what he's about. I think he's a good goalkeeper. But, like, calm down. Can we all just calm down? It's just, like, crazy. Oh my God, he saved it. Anyway, what do you guys think? Oxford Ramsdale, man of the match. I mean, fine. It could have been 7 or 6. Yeah. I mean, that's your job, though, isn't it? That's your job. Ox needs quality around him, but he's still brilliant. And he's not played many games as well. I think that's really important to say. 9 assists, Damien, great stat here. 9 assists in 6 games for Trent. Yeah, I mean, he's looking gorgeous, isn't he, at the moment? That's the one thing I would say when it comes to a couple of the goals. The Mane goal, if you watch that Mane goal back, that's something where Tavares needs to scan. He needs to have a quick scan and go, oh, Salah's here. I need to make sure I stop the pass. He tried to go and be a hero on that and dart towards Sadio Mane, and it made it a tap-in for Salah. That's poor defending. That's immature defending. And for the final goal, if you watch that goal as well, Ben White, again, tries to be the hero. They've got to get there. If you're going to play the way they're going to play, you've got to have better positioning, because if you watch that final goal as well, the ball goes over to the right, I think it's to Trent, and Ben White's trying to be a hero to try and stop that cross. In fact, if he gets himself in a better position by the front post instead of where he was, he might have a much better chance of stopping that cross when it comes in. 2 areas where, but again, it's an immature team right now, Arsenal. Can they get better? If we're speaking about this again in a year's time, then you'd be disappointed. But there are some elements of positivity there, and I think it's worth keeping that in mind. But Liverpool continue to prove the doubters wrong, myself included. I keep looking at the injury table, and I'm thinking, how are these guys dominating games the way that they are, going through the gears the way that they are? That they don't bend, they don't break. So durable, despite being not very durable when it comes to injuries. Amazing stuff. Nearly 900 watching, not even 200 likes. A kick in the teeth. Oh well, what can you do? If you are new to the channel, then hit the subscribe button. I'll be back very, very soon. We'll see if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer still got the job when the fallout returns on Monday. Also, next week, I've got a ranking tier list. Probably going to be around the Ballon d'Or nominees. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell as well, because we're going to do that one live. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Oh, QPR won yesterday.